Today, we'll be making an essential dish everyone should have in their kitchen, House Special Fried Rice, and each serving costs only $1. It's a great recipe for saving money on food. We'll be using Portuguese sausage, peas, white rice, eggs, green onions, oyster sauce, and a special ingredient that we'll see later that makes this taste better than any other fried rice you've had. We're going to start by preparing our rice. Measure 4 cups of dried long-grain white rice. Jasmine or brown rice can also be used. We're going to thoroughly wash our rice with cold water to remove excess starch and any impurities. I usually am able to do this with 2 to 3 rinses. A good way to tell if your rice is clean enough is that you should be able to see the rice through the water. Drain the excess water so that we're left with only our clean rice. Next, measure and add 5 cups of water. I'm using an Instapot to cook my rice, and the general rule of thumb is that for every 1 cup of dried rice, add 1¼ cup of water. For actual rice cookers, you'll want to use about 1½ cups instead. I found that using an Instapot helps save a lot of time, but either a rice cooker or an Instapot will do. Evenly distribute the rice before loading it into the cooker. To cook our rice, use the pressure cook setting on the normal and high mode, and set the timer to 3 minutes. After these 3 minutes are up, let the Instapot sit for 8 minutes before depressurizing. I like to break up my rice to help it cool down faster. Once the rice is cooled down, let it store in the refrigerator, ideally overnight, to help it dry some. Now the ingredients you'll need are 4 cups of cooked white rice, 2 links of Portuguese sausage, 2 bunches of green onions, about 3/4 cup of peas, 4 tablespoons of oyster sauce, 4 scrambled eggs, and our special ingredient, 1 tablespoon of dashi. Overall, I was able to get all these ingredients for about $1.01 per serving. Let's prep our ingredients. We're going to cut our Portuguese sausage into small dice. I like to do this by cutting the links into halves before cutting into about 1/3 slices and then dicing. 2 links of Portuguese sausage is typically just the right amount, but more can be used if you like your fried rice a bit more meaty. Don't worry if your Portuguese sausage isn't perfectly diced, you just really want to cut it down into small pieces. Next, we're going to slice our green onions. 2 bunches of green onions may seem like a lot, but it will all cook down later. The green onions help add some color, but also flavor that is often missing in many fried rice recipes. After scrambling 4 eggs, we can now prepare our refrigerated rice. One key step many people neglect is to break up the rice before cooking. Breaking up the rice reduces clumps later that can result in just plain rice balls in your fried rice. It is a simple but essential step, so don't skip it. Now that we have all our ingredients ready, we're going to make our fried rice in 2 batches. Get a pan to medium-high heat and add about half the diced Portuguese sausage. Don't worry if you don't perfectly measure out about half your ingredients. It'll all get mixed together in the end. Allow the Portuguese sausage to brown and caramelize, usually about 2 to 4 minutes. Frying the Portuguese sausage can get a bit messy, so I recommend using a splatter shield. I'm not using one here so that you can see what's happening within the pan. Now add about half of the rice to the pan. Don't worry if you put in too much or too little rice, it'll all get mixed together in the end. We're really just trying to break this up into 2 batches in order to better cook this in our little pan. We'll pour in about 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce onto the rice and mix thoroughly, making sure that the sausage blends with the rice. You can always add more oyster sauce later, just be sure to mix whatever you add very well. Add about half of the green onions and peas that were prepared. I like to do this gradually as it helps evenly mix it into each batch. Be sure to continue to mix and turn the rice so that everything is blended and so that you don't end up with plain spots. Once the rice and everything has had time to cook together, usually for about 3 to 4 minutes depending on your rice, sprinkle in the dashi. Make sure the dashi is spread around very well before again mixing all of this very well. The dashi is what gives this fried rice a distinct flavor, so be sure to find it at your local Asian market. After about 1 to 2 minutes of mixing, add and mix in more dashi until about half a tablespoon has been used. We're continuously mixing our fried rice in order to make sure that nothing burns and also to work in that dashi so that it gets everywhere. Now is also a good time to make sure any clumps of rice are broken up with your spatula. Once the fried rice has turned a golden color and mixed well with everything, we can go ahead and put it into a separate mixing bowl. We're going to repeat this cooking process for the other half of our ingredients. Again, don't worry if you didn't perfectly use half your ingredients earlier. Everything will get mixed together in the end, and you won't notice. One thing I do recommend is that if your dashi is rather coarse, use a mortar and pestle to grind it down. This isn't essential or required, but it does help more evenly distribute the flavor. If you see chunks of rice while cooking, use a spatula to break it up. This usually gets easier to do once the rice warms up, so be patient and continue to mix thoroughly throughout the process. The reason we refrigerated our rice earlier is so that we don't get mushy fried rice. If you use fresh rice, you'll end up with very mushy rice as that rice will clump together and you won't be able to mix in the greens very well. Another way though, if you're crunched for time, is to actually cool down your rice naturally in the air and then put it into the freezer for a short period of time. This helps dry up the rice a little bit quicker than just using fresh rice. We'll go ahead and add this batch to the mixing bowl and now scramble our eggs. I like to break up the eggs a lot so that it mixes well later on. Mix the eggs into the fried rice thoroughly using the spatula. This makes about 7 lunch or dinner sized servings. I like to use these 24-ounce meal prep containers as they are perfect for reheating or taking to work. Additionally, you can fry up some pot stickers to have on the side, but we'll make some of those later in a separate video. Once the fried rice has cooled off, go ahead and put a lid on them and store in the refrigerator for up to about a week. To reheat, simply microwave for about 2 to 3 minutes and enjoy. This recipe is not only $1 per serving, but packed full of flavor and sets you up for about 7 meals without emptying your wallet. Let me know how it goes down in the comments below and tell me what other food you want to see next. Also be sure to subscribe to see the latest weekly meal prep videos.